All right, test 1, 2. Lovely, seems to work. I welcome you for this afternoon session, after lunch session about GNOME, GNOME 3 or GNOME 3.6. It's like both. We'll figure it out within the talk. But let me first tell you that I'm quite honored to be here today or for this Fast.in, and I'm quite, well, happy to see this event happen again. And, well, I want to thank the organizing team especially for making this event happen and, well, for making it happen that we come together and can talk about free software. And I think it deserves a special round of applause that the organizing team put that event together on such short notice, given especially the illness and all. So yeah, thanks. Thank you very much. And secondly, let me take a picture of you guys. I mean, you see me all the time. So can you get, for a couple of seconds, totally excited about the awesome talk about GNOME and all? So, woo! Oh, I love you guys. You're very cute. Lovely. Thank you. I love you. Nice audience. So, I am Toby, and, well, I hope you can read that. If you can't, well, you can approach me anytime. I will stick around for the rest of the conference. And I usually don't bite. And I invite you, well, to just approach me and say hi. And even if you, I don't know, are too shy to say anything else, then we'll figure something out. So don't be too afraid to just approach me afterwards and, I don't know, just try to talk to me or so. So yeah, I'm Toby. I'm from the GNOME fame. And, well, I want to show you today, like, what is GNOME 3? And especially I want to focus on GNOME 3.6, which we just released a couple of weeks ago. And I want to talk about, well, the road that we've taken to get to GNOME 3.6, and also what's behind that. So not only what brought us to GNOME 3, GNOME 3.6, but also what will come with, for example, GNOME 3.8. And more slowly. All right, thank you. So yes, I should as well say that I am not, well, an English native speaker. So if you have trouble understanding me, that's probably because I am jet-lagged, you know, and I'm not an English speaker. So please do interrupt me at any time if you have, for example, troubles understanding me, or if you have any question or comment at all. So that's absolutely no problem. Just show up, make yourself heard, and, well, if I don't react to you, that's usually not because I don't like you. Might happen, but usually not. It's probably because I just don't see you or anything. So just shout and we'll get some mic to you. All right, thanks for the hint anyway. So, what is GNOME anyway? And then what is GNOME 3? And then what is GNOME 3.6? So GNOME is, well, the very, very easy definition and not very accurate would be that it is the desktop, a free desktop for everyone. Everyone, including people not speaking English, for example, people being physically challenged that, for example, have not proper vision or not the vision as we have, or that have impaired, say, hands, for example. So we want to bring a free desktop, free software to everyone, really. And, well, we try to make that our main focus within GNOME. But, well, GNOME is also a development platform. GNOME is also a community. And to exactly define what GNOME is probably a bit, well, too hard, and we could talk hours just about that. But let's stick to the desktop aspect of GNOME first, and for this talk. And GNOME 3 is the recent major release of GNOME done 1.5 years ago. And we tried to bring a new concept to the users, a new, well, way of working with a computer, a new way of bring you or enable you to do your work, really. And with that new way of working, we started, as I said, 1.5 years ago, and that was GNOME 3.0. And since these 1.5 years, a few things have changed so far, and this is how we got to GNOME 3.6. And as I will tell later, this is not the end of GNOME 3. This is just a minor or another step, like into, well, succeeding bringing the GNOME 3 experience to the users. So what's the main feature, or what are the main features of GNOME 3, the new experience? We think we brought an elegant, coherent design that makes sense globally. So not only well, do some elements make sense, but they play nicely together. So, I don't know. It's like one of the first screenshots that were released was that, and that is quite different from what you were used back in the day. And one of the main distinctions from the old experience is probably that activities overview. So you have a global view of your desktop, or desktops really, as you have virtual desktops still. And you can see what applications you are running, and you can interact with the elements on that screen. And you could start applications, for example, by clicking the few selected favorite items in the dash, or you could find them quickly by typing in names or search terms really in the top search bar. And yeah, this is the newest and greatest GNOME 3.6. Another element that distinguishes, oh, all right. Oh, can we get sound, by the way? Sorry about that. All right, sorry about that. I didn't anticipate that.
Hi, I'm Jason Clinton, and I'm one of the hundreds who worked on GNOME 3. GNOME 3 is better because when you want to start your apps, you can do it faster than you were ever able to in GNOME 2. In GNOME 3, a user can start any app quickly. Just press the logo key, type the first few letters of the name of the application, and press enter. GNOME 3 will search for it in less time than the user needed to locate the same visual data.
Let us just start over again, sorry. I should have plugged in the audio first. So I brought a video, well, that introduces into that feature, because I think, well, videos are nice and all, and also we put quite some effort into producing these videos, so now we need to show them, right? Because we actually made them, so you need to suffer now by watching that video. But it's quite nice, and I like the music as well. So let's give it a shoot.
Hi, I'm Jason Clinton, and I'm one of the hundreds who worked on GNOME 3. GNOME 3 is better because when you want to start your apps, you can do it faster than you were ever able to in GNOME 2. In GNOME 3, a user can start any app quickly. Just press the logo key, type the first few letters of the name of the application, and press enter. GNOME 3 will search for it in less time than the user needed to locate the same visual data in GNOME 2. If mouse is preferred, frequently used apps can be pinned to the dash. This is one of the many ways that we've made GNOME 3 better.
So yeah, I brought some more videos, like to make you awake again, you know. So basically, in the middle or at the end of the talk, we'll have some more videos to, you know, get you excited, all excited. So yeah, that was that. If you watched carefully, you've seen that this was not the GNOME 3.6 desktop, but we'll come to these tiny differences like later in the talk. Another, well, new or thing that's quite different is the way we handle notifications. So the main point shall be that you can do your computing without distractions, or to have distractions when you want them, and that you can decide like whether you want to act or react on that notification or distraction or not. So this is a screenshot, again, an old one, and well, we see that the notification would, you know, scroll in, stay there. If it was important, it would stay there. If it was not, it would go away, and then you could find it back later. So if it was not, you know, if you were not there or you wouldn't react to that, it would stay there, but without visually distracting you all the time. You know, back in the days, you had that top panel with blinking icons and all that. That's all gone. So people decided that this way of, well, keeping you busy with UI was not a very good way of telling you that things were happening on your machine. So this new way is found to be much better, well, to enable you to get your work done, really. And another feature of that is that these notifications are interactive. So the biggest user of that is the instant messaging. So if you look at that, we have these notifications, and you can type into them. So if you get a new message, it will, pop up and say, well, there's a new message from, and it reads this and that, and you can, go with your mouse there and reply if you please to. If you don't, fair enough. Then the notification will go away, and you can find it back later. And yeah, this is as I think, a very cool feature of the new GNOME 3 desktop. And in fact, everything that you could see on this screen, or in the GNOME shell really, you could handle and modify with simple JavaScript. So everything is programmable and modifiable, in fact. So this allows you, or gives you great flexibility in how to, say, extend or modify your GNOME 3 experience. Also, a new thing compared to the old way of how GNOME did things is the integrated search. So in that activities overview, you've seen that search bar, and you could type things in, and it would find your applications, and that's great. That's awesome, because back in the day, you needed to know what category your application was in, and you needed to know the name, and even worse, if you didn't know either, you couldn't find your application. That's very bad. And now with that desktop search, you could even type in some words of the description. So when I want to open some, for example, keyboard settings, I don't know the application name of doing that or for doing that. I just type keyboard, and it automatically searches the description of the application as well. So it gives me the appropriate apps. That's lovely. And in the future, we will be able to extend that easily, so that you could hook up, for example, with your documents or contacts. And in fact, contacts, first of all, this is the overview, right? You have the search, which is now in the middle, but in this, screenshot, it's the old style of doing it, in the upper right. And contacts work nowadays with GNOME Contacts. So it's nicely integrated. It gives you a nicely integrated, coherent view onto your desktop and your machine, really, of your contents. So you don't necessarily, need to know which application handles, say, or the email, retrieving the email address of a contact. You just type the name, and you can, start chatting or writing an email to that person. And there's much more, right? These were just the main changes that are very visible to a new user to GNOME 3. So what we think is also quite important is the new help system. So it's not from A to Z anymore, but rather it's activity-oriented. So if you open the help, you will be presented with a view of things you could do, and then you could click, that thing you could do, and you would get instructions on how to actually do that. So this is a new approach of delivering a help mechanism to the user, and I think it's great. And there's another thing that's interesting for the actual user is the settings module. There's one coherent settings application, say, and you could go back and forth in the different settings modules, and it looks as if it was one piece and not different pieces thrown together. So this is also quite nice. And if you can look at the release notes and find many things that were brought to the new GNOME 3 experience that hopefully makes it better for you to work with your desktop. And how is this all possible, or what's beneath all that? So with GNOME 3, we have officially G-object introspection. That doesn't sound exciting, but it actually is. Because what used to be painful back in the days is now a breeze. For example, or especially bindings for different languages. For example, Python bindings. If you wanted to use the GNOME libraries from Python, say, you needed to maintain bindings to the libraries manually, and that's not a pleasant work. That's very, dumb work, say. You need to provide all these function definitions, and you need to take care of that, and with the new API, you have to update the bindings and all. And if there's a new language, say JavaScript or Haskell, for example, or any language really, you would need to do that over and over again. And now this is all dynamic. This is brilliant. So now the Python bindings have gotten much more easy to write and to maintain. And introducing a new language to the GNOME libraries it should be a matter of a couple of lines of code, and not a couple of thousands as it used to be. And we deploy a lot of JavaScript. So I mentioned that the GNOME, shell is everything was modifiable and handleable, and you can do that all from JavaScript. So we hope that this will attract the people that are used to JavaScript for or from, say, web development. So we hope that these people will like to program for the GNOME shell using JavaScript. And on top of that, we have CSS theming. So we use known technologies, say, and bring them to the users, hoping that more people will come up and, get into GNOME development. So yeah, if you like any of these, consider joining GNOME. It's quite easy, actually. So the main entrance point for newcomers would be GNOME Love. If you type that into the search engine of your least mistrust, you will probably get information on that quite quickly. So GNOME Love is the keyword for that, and you will get onto an IRC channel where hopefully friendly folks hang out and help you through your GNOME journey, say. And you will have a mailing list where people hopefully will respond to your questions that you might think are not, very intelligent, say. But we have infrastructure to cater exactly for that. So don't be afraid to just jump in and join GNOME. And, all of that, we used to maintain a so-called fallback mode, or GNOME Classic, whatever you want to call that. That's still there with GNOME 3.6, but we're going to drop that with GNOME 3.8. That's the next release after this current release. That's due in March. The why? Well, that's a good question. So it's doomed, or people think it's not necessary anymore because we have LLVM pipe. So you can do the rendering stuff in software, and it's considered to be mature enough that it works. And the official, announcement is that hardware which is younger than 5 years works perfectly. And, I have no reason to not believe that. The hardware I have works good enough, say, with the software rendering. It's not pleasant, but it works good enough. But it's also older than 5 years. So, yeah, and, the official statement is that we do not want to slow all progress with old hardware, say. And, at some stage, we need to get on and try to make bigger, better things and try to get rid of the legacy. And, now it's up to you to decide whether supporting machines that are older than 5 years is worth it or not. And GNOME considers it to not be sufficiently important enough to cater for that. But as I've said, there's hardware older than 5 years that runs that fine anyway. But everything that's younger than 5 years is meant to support GNOME 3 well. So you could try it yourself. If you have doubts, you can go to that address and download a CD image. In fact, we have images, I think, created daily. It's crazy, actually. And they're uploaded there, and you could download that and put it on a pen drive and boot it up and see whether it works or not. And then you can make up your mind yourself. And you could do that without destroying your machine, right? It's a known technology. It's just a bootable pen drive then, or a CD-ROM if you have that. And yeah, I invite you to do that, and also to get to know the latest GNOME 3.6, which is not necessarily shipped to your distribution. Or if you don't run any reasonable Linux anyway, you could just download that and give it a try. And if you do, report back. If you have any experience, if it doesn't work on machines that are younger than 5 years, just give us a shout, and that'd be very appreciated. And yeah, we could try it like now on that machine, but it's very slow. It's a netbook with just gigabytes of RAM and very slow CPU. I barely loaded the presentation with all the videos and so. So we don't necessarily. I try not to actually use much of the GNOME 3 thing now on the presentation because it will fail anyway, right? live demos don't go well all the time. So if you don't like all that, what you've seen, there's loads of opportunities to actually tweak the GNOME experience, or, well, change or alter that even, or actually get completely rid of that, right? There's folks that essentially got rid of the new, well, features introduced. And, well, that's fine. You can do that. We won't stop you from doing that, right? It's perfectly possible. The platform is all open. It's not locked in any way. We don't force you to do anything. We just say, well, we think this is the way it works best for most people. If it doesn't for you, that's fair enough. There you go. You could tweak GNOME. And there's a very awesome thing that I like very much. It's the GNOME extensions. So having said that everything is JavaScript, we have these extensions for GNOME Shell. And let me try to pull that up on the screen. It's a website, and that doesn't work. Hang on a second, I need to do it like that. And there we have the website. It's extensions.gnome.org. And now, if you visit that website, you will see a list of plugins, of extensions that people have written and uploaded to that website. And you see a nice description and the name and the author and all. And you see it's like 24 pages long, so there's loads of extensions up there. And if you fancied any extension, you could click that, and now we'll see that the internet works or not. And you could just run that extension from within the browser. So if I click that, what I'm not going to do, it will automatically download the extensions and run it. That's brilliant. It's a very, very nicely integrated experience that allows you to quickly, adapt GNOME 3 to your needs or extend it in a way that you please. And if you did that, I did that too, but just with a tiny extension. And you could press on and off from within the browser, and yeah, you would get extensions and remove them, or open settings. And that's very lovely. That's a very nice thing. So if you're not pleased with the way your GNOME shell works, or GNOME works for you, give the extensions a shot. And there's many extensions out there, as I've said. And yeah, I can only recommend you to browse it if you're not satisfied with anything. So this is one thing. But there's also a half-official thing, the so-called GNOME tweak tool. So there's common complaints, were basically collected and it was all put into that tool called GNOME tweak tool. And it allows you to change things that to change GNOME 3 or GNOME shell to make things work the way they used to. So, for example, you can click, you see it yourself, right? You have different categories, and you can enable or disable features that you were used to, maybe. So yeah, that's a cool thing too. So you should, if you miss something from the old GNOME experience, you should give that a try as well, and see whether your problem, say, or your desired workflow will be enabled with the GNOME tweak tool. All right. Do I get that started again? There we go. Lovely. So a bit of history on GNOME 3. So how did we actually arrive there? Back in the day, 2008, at one Aquatic, it was in Turkey, if I remember correctly, a new design, a new, prototype was shown to the GNOME development community. And, since then, GNOME decided to take up on that and to follow that approach. So the point here I'm making is that the general idea, is 4 years old already, and that's been out there in the community for a long time, kind of. So in the free software world, 4 years is quite a long time, right? So if you wanted to have, or if you want to see something different, or see that something, or if you think that something should have been done differently, I encourage you to join the community and try to influence the decisions. So one of the biggest, decision-making events, really, for GNOME, for the GNOME community, is the annual Aquatic. This is the GNOME Users and Developer Conference. And it takes place in Europe. And the next Aquatic will be in the Czech Republic. And yeah, I encourage you to try to get there if you can. And yeah, since then, people have focused on realizing or making the prototype that existed back in the day, in maturing that and making that ready for the general public. And as I've said, the GNOME 3 release, the actual release, was 1.5 years ago. So the actual prototype matured over quite some time as well. And since then, since 1.5 years ago, it matured even more, at least I think so. And you could try yourself, right? I think the images that I refer to, there's also an archive of these images. So if you like that, if you like to explore the differences, you could as well, run GNOME 3.0 and then GNOME 3.6 and see whether you like it more or not. That would actually be interesting to know. And well, we have a long way to go still. There's still a lot of unresolved issues within GNOME 3. And one thing that is quite obvious, or one area of working that is very easy to see, is the need for applications that follow the new design. So in fact, there's in our wiki, like live.gnome.org, it's a web wiki, and there's a page called Design. So if you enter Design in that wiki, you will come to a page where there's designs, like mockups and desired behavior that have been, drawn or mocked up, as I've said, but not implemented yet. So if you like GNOME, if you like, for example, to give back or to do something new on your own, if you don't want to necessarily join an existing GNOME project or work on something existing because, you are, too shy to interact with the people, that's fair enough. You can then go to the design page and, for fuck's sake, Jesus Christ. The show must go on. So, designs. Go to the wiki, find the designs, find the applications that need to be written and that need to behave and look like the proposed designs. And this is an awesome job. So, just with the upcoming release, there will be yet another application, there's yet another application written that was only available as a design. And this is just brilliant. If people pop up and just implement designs, that's absolutely brilliant. So, as we talked about the actual history of GNOME 3, how we came to GNOME 3, to GNOME 3.0, let's talk a bit about the technical aspects of the GNOME releases. So, the question is, how do we actually decide on a release? How do we do releases? When do we do releases, right? So there's several criteria, and it might actually be a bit boring for tech folks like here, but generally in free software, it's always interesting when to do a release, or what are the criteria for a release, when to ship it. And we in GNOME, we used to have, or we still have actually, very frequent releases. So it's quite scheduled. So as you see from the history, back in since GNOME 2.0 really, we have half yearly releases. So every half a year, we get a new GNOME version out, and that actually still continues, and that hopefully will continue with the GNOME 3.8 as well. And that's good. So that's reliable. if you want to, depend on GNOME technology, you know what you can expect, and you know, well, when to get new features and how long your API will be stable. That's great. But it's also a bit, well, it also has its drawbacks, right? Because, well, you can almost write a cron job if you want to just roll a new release and nothing's happened, and you just increase the version number and that's it. But we moved to something different, slightly different, and we now try to focus more on features, really. So we have a more feature-based release approach. So we try to propose new features that we want to see in a release and try to stick to that, so that we have bigger things to make happen, other than just bumping the version number. So if you are interested in that, you can have a look at the release engineering part of our wiki, and well, see the schedule, for example, see the proposed features, see the discussion that happens around these features. And well, I think it's quite interesting to try to see how many features in what quality GNOME tries to push out, and well, that on a speed that I think is quite impressive, namely every half a year. So the GNOME 3.6 release that we are mainly talking about, or that we've talked about so far, was released a couple of weeks ago, and so it's still hot, it's still fresh. So in fact, it's so fresh that Fedora doesn't even have it shipped, because Fedora itself has not released yet. And what is GNOME 3.6? What happened? What made GNOME 3.6? And it's easy to say. It's 1,112 people that made GNOME 3.6, and that's amazing, isn't it? It's a quite big bunch of people that took care about GNOME, like only that release, and try to make it happen, and try to make it better for the general public. And the main change that you might not notice, though, or one of the main changes, is that we have accessibility always on. So we try to, with that change, we try to enable even more people to run our software, and to be able to run free software, and try to take part, in the computational world, say, and gain knowledge by using the computer, for example. So this is, I think this is quite good. And if you don't use these technologies, you won't even notice that it's there, hopefully. I mean, there's still applications, there might still be applications that do not expect the accessibility stack to be on and then, behave funny. But that should not be the case anyway. And a visible thing, a quite visible thing that you might encounter very often is the new lock screen. It's we will see a screenshot of that in just the next slide. But so this is more touch friendly, and it's more visually appealing, without actually distracting all too much, because you can just click it away if you don't like it. So, and these notifications that I was talking about, they were annoying me at least quite substantially, to be honest, because back before 3.6, they are in the lower right corner of the screen, and they would move around as soon as you would point your mouse to it. So you would need to catch them, and they would run away, and that is crazy. So this is now different. People have seen that it's not optimal yet. So people learn, right, by proposing a design and, thinking about it, and then seeing how people react and how it actually works in practice. Then people are indeed able to, revise decisions and make better decisions based on the experience we had. So the notifications do not only not move, they're also bigger. And the screen also behaves differently. So instead of the notification bar covering what you're potentially trying to read, things will move up. So it's quite a simple change, actually, but quite a substantial improvement to the usability of the system. And there's an awesome campaign run by Alan Day, quite good GNOME hacker. Every Detail Matters, it's called, and he tries to squash tiny, annoying bugs that, are just making you, well, or that just makes the GNOME experience not coherent. And, well, he tries to get rid of annoying things like the one with the notifications, right? This actually, I mean, it's not a big thing, but it's very annoying if you try to get your notification and it just runs away. So he's fixing many of these tiny bugs that are not very bad, but annoying enough. So this is the lock screen. This is the screen you would get when you lock your screen and try to activate it again. And you see here there's these arrows, and you're supposed to drag that lock screen away to the top. And yeah, you can just do that. If you have a touch thing, that's very simple to do. If you have a mouse, maybe not so much. But fair enough, you can press escape or enter to make the screen go away. And then you get the lock-in screen, right, as you know that. And these are the new notifications. We've seen these earlier. So these are way bigger than they used to be. And they're fixed. The position is fixed. And, well, at least I think it's way better than before. So the new GNOME, GNOME 3.8, will be released in end of March, as usual. Either end of March or beginning of April, where the GNOME 3. Well, the new GNOME stable release is going to be shipped. And what we'll have there down the road is, as we've mentioned already, the dropping of the fallback mode. So there will be no, well, the 3D capabilities are required, and if they are not there, they will be done in software. But it's been announced that the, well, classic experience will be maintained nonetheless through the means of the extensions. And I've also mentioned the design, that there's someone that just implemented a design into a real application, and that's the Notes application. And let's try to pronounce that, BG-Ben. It's Chinese, I was told, and it's the Chinese word, like the characters are the Chinese word for notes or notebook. And we'll see a short video of that to get you awake again. And another quite substantial improvement to the experience is that the extensions can update themselves. So imagine you have, configured your GNOME shell to, behave the way you want it to, and then there's a new stable release, and boom, the extensions broke. Why? Well, because, the API changed, and I don't know, there's a new mechanism that you're supposed to use, so the old extension doesn't work anymore. So what do? Well, now you would have to go manually to extensions.gnome.org. It would actually present you a screen like, update my extensions. That's very nice. But this is even nicer, because the extensions just update themselves. So this is a much nicer experience. And let's hope that'll work. Yeah, well, another accessibility thing is the availability of parts of the screen being colored. So apparently there's like visual impairments that, well, or you would help some visual impairments if you would tint parts of the screen in, say, red, and then you could see things more clearly. And we will have that technology, as I was told, as the first free software implementation to actually be able to do that. So GNOME will be, again, a pioneer on the accessibility front to enable more people, yet more people, to use the free desktop. And in fact, we just had, the last year, we had a campaign, like a fundraising campaign to gain money for accessibility. So GNOME has actually a strong focus on accessibility and values the accessibility very much. So to enable more and more people, basically trying to enable everyone to use their computer with free software is a strong focus of GNOME. And, well, needless to say, the campaign itself was quite successful. So the campaign raised the money quite quickly, and we're, now in the process of actually selecting, well, how to spend the money we raised. So, well, having said that, there's even more improvements to the accessibility stack coming. And even if you don't necessarily care, well, immediately about that, it's still relevant because, for example, things as the on-screen keyboard will profit from efforts in that area. And if we have like tablets running with the GNOME stack, that will help that experience on a tablet, for example, or such a touchable netbook that I have. So yeah, there's more things coming for those areas, and we will hope to, well, have a new fundraising campaign soonish, and we will hope that, well, we will again be very successful in raising money. And the next campaign, it's been live streamed, right? So I don't know whether I'm supposed to tell that or not, but it's probably not very problematic anyway. We try to focus on privacy and security for the next campaign, I was told. So yeah, if you have, I come back to you. If you want, to see changes or to see some efforts happening within GNOME to be more privacy aware and be more security aware, then the next fundraising campaign will be something for you. And then there's a question over here. Yeah. So the comment was that we had a successful Google Summer of Code with many participants from India, especially women, and whether I could elaborate on that. And thank you very much for the hint. I was coming back to that, but let's do it now. That's very good. So yeah, GNOME is also not only about releasing and about the actual desktop and about enabling people with say physical impairments to use their computer. GNOME is also a community and also outreach. We, as I've mentioned, we try to reach out to people with the GNOME Love, well, a project, say, and to make it easy for people to join. And we also, took and take part in the Google Summer of Code. And we also have the GNOME Outreach Program for Women. And that is another successful thing that just goes nuts this year, which is that we fund women to participate, to join GNOME really as interns for a couple of months. And, well, they get money for that. And I actually don't have exact numbers because, I don't have them just in my head just right now. But there were quite a few women from India as well, and as I'm being told. And they did an awesome job. I know, I met at least one of them at the last Aquatic in Europe, in Spain. And, we were told what they were doing, and it was brilliant. That woman that I have in my mind that I was talking to, she did a GCompress, so a learning application for kids. So this is even more awesome, right? If we, enable people to learn things with free software, that's just amazing to, enable people to take part in the say new world with all the computers and all. So that's just brilliant. And that program, that GNOME Outreach Program for Women, that just goes nuts this year. There's so many associations and companies joining that program that we have so many contributors like never before. So associations like Mozilla or companies like Mozilla are joining, or the Tor project, or there's so many different organizations now that, join us in our efforts to bring more women to free software development, and that's just amazing. So we don't know how it will continue, whether it will be the GNOME Outreach Program for Women, or the Outreach Program for Women, or the Free Software Outreach Program for Women. But that effort, anyway, it doesn't matter how it's named, right? It's just important that we try to enable more people to take part in free software development and, try to, extend our outreach, really, to more and more people. So yeah, this is absolutely brilliant. Thank you for the hint. And having said that, if you, intend to take part in the GNOME community, or actually nowadays in the free software community, or in any free software community, then try to look for that program, that internship program, and try to see whether this is something for you. And if you have any questions about that, then again, GNOME Love would probably be the right place to ask anything about that. And I was talking about the notes. This is a short screencast from the notes application, and there's no sound to that. And it's just to see that someone actually stood up and implemented the design that was available on the wiki. and you see various features inherent to GNOME 3, to the GNOME 3 experience that, well, we try to push through more and more applications bit by bit. So this is another news thing, right? All right, I'm running slowly out of time, so I'm trying to progress in my slides. As I've said, GNOME is also about people. GNOME is people. And as I've said, GNOME Love would be the very first point of contact for you. And I encourage you to talk to us, to talk to GNOME people. We usually don't bite, as I've said. And try to join the conferences if you can, by any means. And I'll just skip through these applications that also make GNOME. And there's this awesome application, Shotwell, photo managing application, written in Vala, a GNOME language which tries to ease the development of, well, GNOME applications really by integrating nicely with our object library, the G-object library and glib and all. And PTV, very, very awesome project from, well, Collaborants, basically, and it's probably the only free software video editor. If you hear about anything else, well, probably not very good. Yeah, not gonna happen. This is also awesome. Actually, hasn't really. Well, I actually don't know what the current status of that is, but gedit also has extensions, right? And you could collaboratively edit text via, well, telepathy streams. It's actually brilliant, but I don't think it's gotten really people ready yet. But it's cool anyway. And let me just skip to the most important bits for the last couple of minutes. Of course, I've said we try to enable as many people as possible to use free software and to use computer and to take part in the new world that involves computers. But an essential concept or an essential thing that always follows us is the freedom, the software freedom. So we will not give up on that concept. And we try to, well, with software freedoms, we hope that you or the people can also build their communities and try to grow their own, local computer, communities really, and try to grow the knowledge involved with that, and try to learn from our stack and try to build newer, better, and bigger things. I talked about the release cycle, and well, accessibility takes a good chunk of our dedication, but so does localization. So when we say we want everyone to use a free software desktop, we also extend that not only to, well, people with physical impairments, but also to people that do not speak English. So if there is a good success story in GNOME, it would probably be our translation story. We have a very, very active translating community, and it's very well worth noting that they do a very great job translating GNOME into various languages. And so, yeah, we hope that by that, well, obviously, people all around the world can profit from our free software solution. And so GNOME is people, I've said that. And let me conclude my talk with a short video from the last Aquatic, the main conference in Europe. And yeah, we will see some impressions from how it actually is to be, well, in the community and at the conference. And well, I have to say that I enjoyed the conference very much, and I think pretty much everyone did. We had a very high rate of women participating, so the ratio of female participation was as high as never before. Also due to the GNOME Outreach Program for Women. And it was just a nice atmosphere. And I'll just let the video run, and afterwards I'm open for questions.
Muchos curullas, sapos y brujas, demos rasgos serianos, escritos das nevadas veigas, corvos pinteras e meigas, feitizos das venciñeiras, podres callotas furadas.
Hi everyone, and welcome to Aquatic 2012.
All right. Yeah, that is that. So this is our GNOME map from people all over the world. It's a bit outdated, actually, but I still think it's quite nice to see that. I think the map is from 2008, and even then, there were GNOME people all around the world. So yeah, that was that. Any questions or comments or discussions? Really? Oh, so many, Jesus Christ. So let's get a mic so that the people on the video will have a question.
So in the wiki about the new designs for all the applications, so there are images which you have given as reference, and most of the images are coming from the mobile platform, like how the things are in the Android and iPhone and the things. So why particularly targeting mobile platform so much, or is that that's the way you want to go ahead?
All right, yeah, fair enough. So, well, first of all, I'm not involved in the design process, right? So, my explanation for the pictures of other mobile platforms being in the design wiki is that, well, these are considered to be good examples of, designs, or that these are case studies of designs, how they're done by different people, which is fair enough. So this is why I think things are there, fair enough. And targeting the mobile platform, whether we do it or not, or whether this is a good question or not, or a good thing to do or not, I think it is, because this is where currently growth is to be expected. It's not that the desktop is not important, but people run the desktops or have run the desktops for many years, and I think it's not. No, well, I think it's easier to expect people to try something new on their like new devices like a tablet than on their desktop. So I think targeting that platforms is a good thing to do, because the expected growth is higher than on a desktop. Plus, I mean, my machine from 3 years ago is kind of a tablet-y device, right? It's like a turn, how do you call that? These convertible with a touchable thing. And if GNOME worked there like nicely, that'd be cool. Yeah. But then again, I mean, I don't necessarily do technical decisions, right? I'm not the one who decides we're going to target mobile or not. So this is again the community. And I don't know, if you question that approach, you're very, very open to do so. I think, yeah, as I said, I'm not involved in the design process at all, actually. I just know that it exists. I know that people are very active in there. I know that people are, led to that design space on the wiki, and that they are made to implement the ready designs. There's different phases in the design process as well, right? There's like the elaboration or the exploration phase to look what other people are doing, and then at some stage you come up with your own design that you think is best suited for the problem at hand. So yeah, over there, maybe? Well, let's wait for the mic, right? So that the people on the screen can have the question as well.
What kind of user study is being done by GNOME? To understand how users use their computers.
Can you repeat that? What kind of user?
Studies.
Studies.
Yeah.
All right. So that again is a design-related question, right? And I'm personally not too much involved with that. But from what I know, is that people do go and observe people using their computers. So they're being followed a day or even a week, and they make notes of, like, the designers.
Okay, can
go
you see
and
them?
observe users and take notes, what they do actually, what they click, what they not click and all, and try to come up, try to explain that behavior, and then try to enable the people to, well, get the things done that they actually want to do quickly and without distraction. So this is as far as I understand how it goes.
Is there a place that we can go and see the data or something like research done, something?
Well, if there's, the design space in the wiki is probably very good for that. And then there's the design IRC channel, where the people hang out regularly, and they have meetings, regularly on the internet, like not necessarily IRC, but video chat. And I would presume that the last resort would be the mailing list for that. And usually people are, quite open and welcoming, and at least they should be. If they're not, complain. People should really be, open for, people asking and trying to contribute and all.
Okay, just one more. Why was the power off button re-added in GNOME after it was removed?
The power of what?
Power off button.
That's probably one of the biggest features in GNOME 3.8. You will have the power off thing. So by default. Well, let me try to comment on that nicely. It was not necessarily built by, say, Europeans, and rather, say, Americans. And, I presume that the thinking is that you bought a machine to run it, right? Why would you turn it off? Jesus Christ. So you have that machine. So on. And, so yeah, you have that anyway. And there was an extension for that to bring you the power off thing back anyway. All right. So it was mentioned that there's some stats and studies on blogs, and it's available on blogs. So if you search for that, you will get that. That was the comment. Oh, the mic is not on? Well, at least I don't hear anything. All right, so the question was, correct me if I'm wrong, how the extension website works technically, because you can click on and off in the website, and how does it integrate with the GNOME shell? So this is an extension to your browser, as simple as that. Boom. So you have in your extension folder, you have that extension file, and it integrates with the website, and it realizes, or it recognizes that website that you're on extensions.gnome.org, and it interfaces you with the GNOME shell. It's actually quite clever if you think about it. Very, very well done. Over there? All right.
I'm a fan of the extensions, but the problem is there are a lot of extensions today. It would be better if we have a categorization of extensions, more like a market. So it would be better to search what extension I want to install. 24 pages is too much.
Yeah, you're very right. But
yeah, definitely. But more categorized, that would be better.
We were quite surprised, to be honest. And, it was launched silently anyway. So it was, not announced publicly or anything. It was, secretly being launched. And then people just realized that it existed and, boom, submitted their extensions. And, well, the development of that website could not keep up with the pace of people, submitting things. But, tell you what. It's as far as I heard, it's a Django application. I haven't, looked into that myself. And so if you know a bit of Python, and if you like web development, you are very welcome to, grab the code and try to integrate kind of a categorization thing and, hack some Python and Django together and submit a patch I think that would be very appreciated. And well, given that it's Python and Django, it probably isn't all too hard. Probably, I don't know, a couple of days work. So yeah, you're very welcome to do that. But thank you for the suggestion anyway. They're very good.
Do you have any comments on GNOME sandboxing?
No, I don't. Sorry.
Because the white page is pretty empty right now. It doesn't say much.
Yeah. I've seen that. I've subscribed to the page, so whenever there's a change, I will get a notification myself. And I invite you to do the same. So if you have an account on the GNOME Wiki, you can click the subscribe button. There's a link, and you click subscribe, and then you will get an email whenever there's a change to that wiki page. And also, you can try to subscribe to bug tracker. I don't think this is very helpful in that case, but generally, you know, if you want to be, I don't know, notified or get a better grasp of what is happening within a, say, module, you can subscribe to the bug mail. That's also quite enlightening sometimes. Is there any more? Have you run out of time? Is it? All right. Thank you anyway for your for being here and for listening. And if there's anything, you can approach me very well. As I've said, I usually don't bite, and I've just had lunch, so I'm very unlikely to eat you. And I'd love to talk to you later anyway. And I'll stick around until the end of the conference. Thank you very much.